I never believed in lasting love. At least, not for me. I believed in momentum, in sparks that ignited fast and burned out just as quickly. Apps like Tinder, they weren't for finding a soulmate. They were playgrounds for pleasure, fleeting and fun. A swipe here, a drink there, a night of passion. No promises, no disappointments. That night I wasn't even looking. I was bored, curious, restless. Then came Mark. He wasn't just attractive, he was curated. Tousled hair, well-cut jawline, eyes that looked like they saw through filters. His bio was maddeningly simple. I cook well. I never rush a meal. And yet it hit something. It felt mature, confident, real. We matched instantly, his first message.
Dinner tonight?
I replied, where and when? By 9:43 p.m, I was on my way to his house outside the city. Mark's place was more than a house. It was a villa, hidden behind high hedges, sleek, modern, and warm with soft lighting. When I stepped inside, the smell of rosemary and smoked meat embraced me. He greeted me in a crisp shirt, sleeves rolled.
Welcome. I hope you're hungry.
A long table waited, adorned with wine, candles, and a small tray of homemade pâté. You made this? I thought he was being dramatic, artsy, maybe a little eccentric. He explained how the pâté was made, from how the liver must be handled to the chilling process. I laughed. He was intense, passionate, but charming. We drank red wine, talked, flirted. After the dinner, Mark showed me his kitchen, meticulously arranged, all top-tier chef equipment, each blade gleaming. Mark was obsessed with knives, artisan blades, carbon steel, perfectly honed. He showed me a custom paring knife from Japan, then whispered like a secret. He said, half joking, "You sound like Gordon Ramsay on a date."
More like Hannibal with manners.
I didn't catch the red flag. I was too busy drinking melting under his gaze. The heat between us grew. Touches lingered. His hands slid along my waist, then lips met lips, and we lost ourselves in the moment. As he trailed kisses along my neck, he whispered, almost breathless,
I'm still hungry, and you look delicious. Do you want to be my dinner tonight?
I giggled, aroused. Of course. I thought it was a kink, a game. Maybe he wanted to carry me to the kitchen table. Maybe he had whipped cream hidden somewhere. His lips pressed more firmly, but something shifted. His grip tightened, not seductive, but possessive. His breath grew shallow. Then I felt it, the unmistakable chill of cold metal. A sharp prick at the base of my skull. I tensed. Not playful, not sexy. He said flatly.
I mean it.
It took me a second to process, then two. His eyes were no longer warm. They were vacant, detached. Mark, what are you doing? His smile remained, but it no longer belonged to a man flirting. Before I could scream, he moved, swift, precise. Something jabbed at my neck, a sudden jolt, like a taser. The pain wasn't deep, but it sent a paralyzing shockwave through my spine. My muscles seized, my vision blurred. I collapsed, limbs flailing uselessly, thoughts scattering like marbles across a floor I could no longer feel. Then darkness. I woke up strapped to a table in the center of the sleek, high-end kitchen. My body was numb, my arms and legs splayed and tied down with thick rope that scraped against my skin. The room wasn't cold like a morgue. It was warm, humid, and filled with a nauseating blend of aromas. Bleach, charred meat, fresh herbs, and something unmistakably metallic. To my left, a prep station gleamed with precision tools. Mandolins, mincers, boning knives. On the kitchen island sat a bowl of something marinating. Was it beef? Pork? My stomach twisted. I tried to scream, but my throat was sandpaper dry. My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. My limbs were bound tightly, thick leather straps cut into my skin, keeping me spread and helpless. Footsteps. Then Mark entered, donning a blood-smeared apron like a chef ready for his shift. There was a shimmer in his eyes. Not joy, not madness, but something twisted in between.
You're awake. Good. The first time should be memorable.
What the hell is this? I rasped, terror making my voice crack.
I always wondered what it would be like.
He said, almost dreamy.
After watching Hannibal, it just clicked. You're perfect. Fresh. Clean. Beautiful.
He approached with a paring knife, its edge honed to perfection.
Blood type A, right? They say it's the most flavorful.
He pressed the blade to my neck. A stinging slice. I screamed. He caught the blood, tasted it, then gagged, violently, his face contorted in horror. He stumbled to the sink and vomited, retching like a poisoned man. The knife clattered to the table. He was too busy heaving to notice that my eyes had locked onto the knife on the floor. My wrist twisted painfully toward it. Awkward, strained, the cold steel kissed the edge of the rope binding my wrist. I began to saw. Once. Twice. The blade bit into the coarse fiber and grazed my skin. Pain flared hot and raw, but I didn't stop. Mark groaned again, spitting bile into the sink, muttering something about preparation and balance of flavor. The rope snapped with a frayed gasp. I yanked my wrist free, the skin beneath it raw and bleeding, my pulse pounding in my ears like war drums. I moved quickly to my ankles. The knots were tight, stubborn, soaked with my own sweat. My fingers slipped once, twice, but I didn't stop. I clawed and sawed and twisted until at last, the final rope loosened and I kicked free. He turned.
No, not yet.
I snatched the knife, stumbled to my feet, and lunged, not at him, but at the sleek wall oven beside me. The blade drove deep. Glass shattered. Gas hissed like a snake let loose. Flames erupted in an instant, racing across the countertop. He screamed, not for me, but for the oven.
No! That's a $6,000 Viking.
I toppled a prep table into his path, the clang loud as a gunshot, then sprinted into the smoke-choked hallway without looking back. I grabbed my phone from a table near the entryway. 1% battery. 911, please help. But Mark's voice echoed from behind.
You can't leave. You're not done yet.
I bolted for the front door, flung it open, only to find the outer gate locked. No keypad, no handle. I darted into the bushes, phone in hand. I crouched, heart in my mouth. Tinder notifications pinged in quick succession.
You can't escape me. I told you, this is my first time.
I muted my phone, uninstalled the app, but another message arrived through Premium Override.
I fixed the oven. Sorry for being clumsy. Let's finish what we started. The first time is always messy.
A sound, footsteps, buzz of electricity, then a voice inches from the brush.
And honey, I brought a cleaner blade this time.
They say the world was once ruled by fear, not joy. Before Christmas became a time of celebration, it was a season of terror. Winter nights were longer, colder, and filled with the dread of monstrous creatures. Bipedal reindeer, with fur as black as the void, twisted antlers like thorns of hell, and eyes glowing red as embers. These were no ordinary reindeer. They didn't pull sleighs, they rode them, and their sleds weren't loaded with gifts of cheer, but with the tormented souls of the damned, cursed to drag the reindeer through the skies, screaming into the frigid night. Every year, at the end of winter, the air would fill with the haunting sound of bells, signaling the arrival of their terrible gifts, not toys or candy, but death, fear, and despair. The village was gripped by unspeakable dread. Cursed presence appeared everywhere. There was the wooden mask, carved with an eerie precision, which once worn fused to its victim's face, trapping them forever behind its hollow stare. Another was the ominous countdown clock, its hands ticking backward. It would drain the very life from whoever held it, leaving only an empty shell behind. Each year, these cursed artifacts would appear on doorsteps, bringing ruin to all who touched them. No one escaped their fate. That fateful night, my mother and I huddled together in our small wooden cabin, every light extinguished. The darkness felt like a blanket of safety, but we knew better. The reindeer didn't need light to find us. They could smell fear. And in our home, fear was thick. The bells came first, their chime low and ominous, cutting through the howling wind. Then, the front door burst open, laughter followed, a high-pitched, maniacal sound that made my skin crawl. A small, tattered box waited on the doorstep, as if it had always been there. Its faded tag bore the words, "The sinner Evelyn," my mother's name. I begged her not to touch it, but her hands shook as she reached for it, as if she were hypnotized. Inside was a threadbare doll. Its eyes, dull at first, flared a hellish red as its stitched mouth curled into a sinister grin. My mother's body seized violently. She fell, writhing on the floor, frothy foam bubbling from her lips as she mumbled in an unearthly tongue. Her only sin was raising me alone. Yet for that, she was condemned to a fate worse than death. Before I could scream, they came. The monstrous reindeer seized her, dragging her to their sleigh. She became another cursed soul bound to their infernal sleigh, leaving me alone with the cold and the fear. Desperate and enraged, I grabbed the nearest thing, pine cones scattered near the hearth, and hurled them at the creatures. To my shock, the reindeer shrieked, their movements becoming erratic. They scratched at their fur as if trying to rid themselves of some unseen torment. One by one, they stumbled and retreated into the night, their howls of pain echoing through the frozen air. It wasn't until later that I realized what had happened. Pine. These monsters were allergic to it. The scent, the texture, it weakened them. And so, I began to prepare. For an entire year, I worked tirelessly. My family had always been woodworkers, and I knew the forest well. I harvested pine, crafting weapons and traps. I forged a plan, waiting for the next winter, the next chance to avenge my mother and end the reign of these beasts. When the time came, I stood at the edge of the pine forest, wooden sword in hand and a sack full of pine cones slung over my shoulder. I called out to them, taunting them, daring them to face me. They came, as I knew they would. The bells tolled, the sky darkened, and the ground shook beneath their heavy steps. The lead reindeer, its antlers larger and more twisted than the rest, bared its jagged teeth and charged. I ran, leading them deep into the forest where the air was thick with the scent of pine. I ducked behind a large tree, holding my breath as the creatures slowed, their heads swinging wildly, unable to find me. From the shadows, I struck. With a single thrust of my wooden sword, I jabbed it straight into the mouth of the lead reindeer. Its body collapsed, its death cry piercing the night. The others hesitated, disoriented and vulnerable. I hurled pine cones at them, watching as they thrashed and stumbled, their strength waning. One by one, they fell. When the dawn broke, I emerged from the forest victorious. I had captured the surviving reindeer, binding them with ropes infused with pine resin. They would no longer bring death and despair to my village. Instead, I repurposed their sleigh. I filled it with gifts, dolls, sweets, and books I had crafted over the year, and rode through the village, delivering them to the homes of those who had lived righteously. I urged the people to embrace kindness and generosity, for these virtues were invisible to the reindeer. And so, Christmas was born, not as a time of fear, but of joy and giving. Each year I return with my sleigh, pulled by the subdued reindeer, their savage instincts kept in check by the scent of pine that lingers on my sleigh's reins. But I remind everyone, the reindeer are still out there, lurking, waiting for the chance to escape. And so we light our homes with warmth and kindness, and we hang pine wreaths on our doors to keep the darkness at bay. This is the tale of how I, once a terrified boy named Nick, became a legend.
Finally done. Now this old house is ready to welcome its new owner. Hopefully the new tenant won't get too attached to it. I'm Susan, a real estate agent, but all the houses I deal with are old properties rumored to be haunted. Why? Because we're not after rental commissions. What we really want is the deposit money from unlucky tenants. Tenants who can't handle the ghosts I personally create to scare them away. I'm absolutely confident about this scam. This old house has stood for over 70 years and is decorated in a Gothic style. Despite surviving a fire, the house remains mostly intact. This time, the tenant has paid a hefty amount to rent the entire mansion. So I've meticulously prepared everything to welcome my special guest, and I'm hoping he'll flee from this mansion soon enough. My client this time was a man named Paul. He was pretty young, but his way of dressing was, well, a bit odd. He carefully inspected the house, and while he was at it, I quietly observed him too. His suitcase was compact, but he also carried a bag filled with random stuff. Looking closer, I noticed a few exorcism tools inside, silver daggers, holy water, and a crucifix. Looks like I've run into another religious fanatic, I thought to myself. Paul suddenly asked,
"Are you Christian too? That rosary you're wearing looks quite special."
I was caught off guard but quickly brushed it off. Yeah, my family's Christian. My aunt's even a nun. I glanced at the rosary and explained, it's a gift from her, but honestly, I just wear it as an accessory. Paul agreed to sign the rental contract on the spot. I smirked inwardly.
Looks like this deal is going to be a smooth one.
Before Paul moved in, I secretly installed hidden cameras around the house to monitor his every move and plan my scare tactics. Watching Paul sleep soundly, I smiled with excitement and began my first night of work. A terrifying scream startled Paul awake, making him look anxiously towards the window. At that moment, I vaguely saw his eyes light up. The window had handprints made of glowing water, a bit of red light, and a horrifying scream from the Bluetooth speaker, creating a spooky scene. I eagerly waited for Paul's reaction, but he seemed unfazed and went back to sleep. Looks like I underestimated him, but no worries, the fun is just beginning. The next day, I printed a picture of a human head, put it in a jar, and placed it in the fridge. I sat in front of my computer anxiously waiting for Paul's reaction, but Paul didn't seem scared at all. He looked straight into the camera and bluntly exposed my prank. I also tied a fake ghost made of white cloth to a string, making it fly in the hallway. Watching Paul's reaction, I couldn't help but suspect he was expecting something truly scary to appear. But whatever the reason, one thing is certain. He has no intention of leaving anytime soon, and I won't give up that easily either. This time, I decided to scare Paul myself. I snuck into the house with a spare key, carrying a large human skeleton model. But as soon as I entered, I saw a charred skeleton rushing towards me. Instinctively, I tried to use the remote to stop it, but it was clearly not one of my controllable props. I had encountered a real ghost. My whole body froze, and I tried my best to scream for help. In my desperation, Paul appeared and splashed holy water on the skeleton, making it scream in agony. I stared in shock at Paul and the skeleton, letting Paul drag me away. Paul calmly drew a strange circle and said,
I am an exorcist. This house once belonged to an English landlord who killed many slaves and fed their hearts to his daughter, believing it would cure her heart disease. I will perform a ritual to help their souls find peace.
I scoffed. You're joking, right? This is just another one of your pranks. Paul didn't argue and splashed holy water in my eyes. Suddenly, my vision cleared. Around me, dozens of ghosts appeared, their faces twisted, eyes burning with hatred. They were all staring at me. I felt like my 27-year-old worldview suddenly collapsed. I wanted Paul to say something to me, but he was focused on his exorcism. The ghost of the landlord seemed to sense the danger. He used the mirror to command the slave ghosts to break Paul's protective circle. I was confused about how to help Paul. Suddenly, the wound on my hand heated up. My arm was being controlled. I remembered the wound was caused by that ancient mirror. The landlord must be using it to control me and harm Paul. Just as my fingers were about to pierce Paul's artery, Paul suddenly opened his eyes, stopped my hand, and grabbed my rosary. With just the rosary beads, Paul easily destroyed all the screaming ghosts around us. As I was about to run to hug Paul, a chilling sensation enveloped me. A strange voice echoed in my head.
Finally, that pesky rosary is gone. Now this body will be mine.
I looked in horror at my transparent body. It turned out they had been targeting my body all along, but I was always protected by the rosary. The landlord sacrificed his soul to trick Paul into breaking my rosary so his daughter could possess my body. I tried to scream for Paul's help, but it seemed no one could hear me. Is this the price I have to pay for exploiting ghosts for my own gain?